Good afternoon from the UK. I believe you're in America. Is it still morning there?
Yes, good
Right.
morning
Good
from Memphis,
morning.
Tennessee.
Okay. A lovely part of the world. I've never been, but a lovely part of the world. So I'm delighted for the latest author spotlight to bring children's author Maggie Jamerson, who is a small business owner, classroom educator, mother, and now a writer. And delighted to see you're the first one who actually has their book behind them. I'm a blatant show off with all my books behind me, but it's lovely as we're talking about you and your writing today, and then we'll come back another time and delve more into your book.
Okay.
So you're obviously you have a teaching background, classroom setting, so you work with children. What sort of ages do you or have you worked with?
So I am a licensed elementary teacher with a master's degree. So my
Okay,
license carries me kindergarten through eighth grade.
right.
And then I opened my own business called Remarkable Readers after
Hmm.
being in the classroom for 16 years. And I broadened that to kindergarten through 12th grade.
Okay.
And then within the last year, I've actually extended it to 3-year old to 5-year
Wow.
old for
Wow.
pre-readers.
Right.
And then I've even started helping adults who
Hmm.
struggle with reading.
Right. That's brilliant. And it must be so rewarding to see the development in anybody, any age, really, from where they start to when they technically finish, they leave
Yes.
and go off and are able to enjoy reading on their own and
Yes.
share
So
their love of
part of
reading.
my program is that I do guarantee results.
Mm,
And with that, I was able to look at my data from the classroom to
mhm,
create my business plan and offer
right.
this guarantee.
Mhm,
So we've helped over 350 students,
mm.
and 100% of those students have improved at least 4 to 6 months in math or reading skills
Okay.
within an 8-week time.
Wow. So how what gave you the idea of writing the book?
Um,
Yes.
so it's interesting when you are a teacher, there is so much going on in the classroom and so
Mm,
much communication that needs to be done with the parent and then with your administration. And I knew what I was doing in the classroom was right, as in, I had the confidence of a good teacher. I knew what I was doing was working.
mhm,
However, I was only reaching my 18 students. And so I wanted to broaden that. And
mm,
that's when I opened up Remarkable Readers. And
right.
then when I'm doing Remarkable Readers, like I said, we're able to help over 350 people so far
Mm,
since June of 2021.
mhm.
Now I'm realizing if I can get this information in a book, I can reach even more people.
Sure.
So it's
Sure.
just trying to get what I know about how our brains work and how we learn to read
Mhm.
out to as many people as possible.
Absolutely. But the likes of Amazon and Kobo and Barnes and Noble and so on. Yeah, no, it's
Right.
it's it's
Which is a
it's
whole nother
opened a world. Yeah,
experience. Yes.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So the teaching you're doing, is it literally one-on-one real life or you do online as
So it
well?
can be both. Going through the COVID season,
Mm,
I learned that I can teach on video and I
mm,
can teach in person at
right.
the same time.
Yes.
Which was oh so stressful in
Mm,
the moment. So
right.
we do offer online and in-person
Mm,
sessions. We also offer small group. We never take more than 6 students,
mhm,
and we offer one-on-one.
right.
So we offer lots of different options.
And is this the first book in a series, do you think? I know
I
it's quite
do.
specific. The format is quite specific. Do you
Yes.
think you'll develop
So
it from then on?
right. So there's 44 sounds in phonics.
Right.
And I keep telling people, I'm not promising you I'm going to write 44 books, but
Okay. But there's the potential.
right, there
Yeah.
is, there
Yeah.
is. And
Yeah.
taking what my friends, my teacher friends,
Mm,
my family, myself, and our experiences in the classroom and putting that in a book with a letter sound
mm,
has not been done from what I have come across.
right. That's
There are a lot of books with the letter O and all the things that start with a letter O, or an
mm,
ABC book, and all of, each letter has something that starts with that
sure.
letter. What
Yeah.
I wanted to offer was a classroom setting um, with diversity in the classroom,
Mhm,
so a child could see themselves there. And I wanted to showcase the teacher and the way she was teaching how
mm,
to learn these sounds and blend them into a word.
right.
There are some people and parents who do not understand that blending is an actual skill. it
Mm,
it does not come easy. It is not natural,
no.
and you have to teach it. And if it's not done in a explicit way, the possibility of your child learning to read is less. Where if
Right.
it's done in a structured and explicit way, but
Mhm,
also fun and engaging for
mhm,
these kids,
yeah.
then they will not only learn it, but be able to apply it to other parts of
Mm,
their learning
mm.
as well.
So how did you decide to start with this one? Is this a natural start? If you say
Um,
there are 44 to choose from.
Yes, yeah. So there is always a scope and sequence with reading curriculums.
Mhm,
I personally enjoy Saxon phonics. I like
okay.
their scope and sequence, not necessarily the way they have it scripted and the way they do it, but
Mm,
they introduce the letter N, then the letter O, then the letter T, and you have
okay.
the word not.
Not.
And
Yes.
that's in the first 3 days of
Mm,
teaching. So I haven't figured out how to do all the consonants yet. Um, and so I kind of backed off of those and
mm,
then just kind of focused on the letter O because it was a vowel and it has two sounds. The
mhm,
letter A has four sounds.
right.
And so I was a little overwhelmed with that. So that's how I ended up with the letter O.
Mhm. And it looks like from the cover, I mean, we will be talking about the book more specifically another time, but it looks like from the cover that you've got characters there. And will you keep the same characters for the other books, or do you think you'll introduce new characters for
I'm
those?
hoping to introduce new characters. I
Hmm.
do like my classroom setting, and I do want to put in a plug for my illustrator. Her name is Natasha Ramez, and she
Okay.
lives in Italy, and she is an amazing
It,
illustrator.
it
We
looks
will be
fabulous.
working together again
Mm.
for sure.
Okay.
So I do want to there are other students in this book, and I do
Mhm.
want to pull some stories to focus on some of those students. However, I also want to introduce new classes. So a whole nother bunch of children with a new teacher and,
Right.
something going on different in their
Yeah.
classroom.
Yeah.
So I think I've got a wide range that I
Mhm.
can work with.
Mm. And how long? bearing in mind that you know what you're writing about, how long did it take you for this book? And have you planned on how long it would take you for the next ones?
So I hear once you start writing a book, it gets
Right.
easier.
Okay.
We will
Let
I
me know
I'll
after
be
book
back.
number
I'll be
2.
back on
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
So, I think that I've always had an idea. So
Mhm.
around COVID, I started the idea of I would love to write a children's book. How does that work? What does that look like?
Mm.
And that was 4 years ago.
Right.
Then I step out of the classroom and start Remarkable Readers. And there is some mental space that opens up when you step out of the classroom that you're able to look into other things
Mhm.
where if someone had knocked on my classroom door and suggested something, I might be ugly and
Right.
say, "No, thank you," and slam
Yeah.
the door.
Yeah.
I have enough going on in
Mm.
my classroom. I do not need your suggestions.
Mm. But we
So
never know until, because that whole situation forced us to do things that we weren't necessarily, and we were probably
right,
quite happy with our lives. And
right.
then all of a sudden it changes completely and you're
Yes.
thrown a curveball. I was lucky because I was editing for a publisher. So really, and I was still able to walk the dog, and it didn't really make that much difference. But when you're out and about and then all of a sudden you can't be,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you have to adapt, don't you?
Yes. And
Mm,
so I've had a story of I want it to be in the classroom setting and I want it to be children. I don't
mhm.
want it to be an animal. I don't want it to be um, a letter book, as in these are all the words that start with
Yes,
this letter or has this
yes.
sound.
Mm,
So I started actually focusing in on it this time last year, so around September, October,
okay,
and
it's pretty
then I
quick.
did hire a author coach. Her name
Mhm.
is Vicki Weber,
Okay.
and she, was also a classroom teacher,
Mhm,
and she has started a business called At Home Author, and
mhm.
so I worked with her for about 6 months on all of the details on how to get this book published
Right.
and what to do and the formatting and finding my illustrators. I mean, she gave me multiple names and you just start interviewing people
Mm,
and who can fit it in their schedule and who can you afford and
mm.
who has the right way that you want to express what
Exactly.
what you want in your
Yes.
picture book.
Yeah.
So I was able to write in on all the art notes. I wanted the
Mm,
classroom to be colorful. I wanted diversity in the children.
mm.
I wanted the print a certain way for kids to be able to see that the letter G when we write it and the
Mhm,
letter G when it is printed in a book is
mhm,
different,
mm.
but it's still the letter
The
G.
G. Yeah.
And
Can you
so,
could you show us the inside of the book
oh
while you,
yes,
as
yeah,
you've got it behind you,
yeah, yep, yep. So,
so we
for
get a feel for it?
example, okay,
There's the
look at
knot.
this,
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely.
and then look at these
Yes.
children.
Ah,
Look at the
I
diversity there.
love the illustrations. It's fabulous, aren't they?
And then look at all the detail that she
Mm,
went into. I mean, even my author's coach was
mhm.
like, we usually have to tell illustrators to add to their drawings,
Right.
and yours, we might be
Yeah.
going, can you take that plant
Yes.
down?
Right.
We
Just
need
too
a
much.
little more white
Yeah.
space
Yeah.
there. And so I mean, she has been phenomenal
Mm,
with
yeah.
specifics and
Yeah.
emotion in the pages. I mean,
Mm,
it's just beautiful,
mm.
just beautiful.
Did you find when you're writing, because children's books, I don't know, what age have you aimed these at? Is there specific ages?
Well, so again, since COVID, the ages have changed.
Mm,
So you could have a third grader who cannot read. That third
right.
grader could be 9 or 10 years old.
Yeah.
There is scientific evidence that shows a 3-year-old can learn how to read if taught the correct way.
Right.
So, what I am noticing, or the way I have marketed my book, is for preschool to about 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
However, there are some special needs kids
Mm,
that can learn how to read,
mm-hmm.
autistic, um, children who are dyslexic.
Mm,
They could be older, and this book would help them
sure. Yeah.
because it has so many different aspects of multisensory. We're doing a
Mm,
lot of things with our hands. We're
right.
saying things out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it is a very interactive book. You're
Mm-hmm.
clapping, and
Right.
those things are done in the classroom and are proven strategies to help
Mm,
children learn to read. And of course, there's so many more that I want to add and I want to share with
mm,
others,
mm,
parents, new teachers,
sure.
some seasoned teachers. It's kind of like the pendulum swings in education. Oh, we're going
Okay.
to focus this way, and we're going to
Right.
do this way teaching
Mm,
reading. And then
mm-hmm.
years later, it's swinging back the
Right.
other way, going, we're going to do
Yes,
it
it
this
didn't
way.
work.
And there
Yeah.
are some teachers that go through the whole circle, and they're
Mm,
like, so we're just doing what we did when before?
yes. Yes. Because it to change something and it doesn't work. Yeah.
Right.
Because the thing, I mean, that sounds really fun. And the thing about children, I don't write for children, and I have a hairy a dog child, and two cats. And but really reading, it, it's this sort of, almost, you write a book to be educational without the child really realizing that they're learning,
Yes,
because
that's
you
the
tell a
goal.
child they're going to learn something, and it's
Right.
almost like a
I
chore,
need you to
isn't
sit
it?
still, and we're going to
Yes.
learn this letter. It
Yes.
doesn't work that way.
No. No, it sounds brilliant. So next are your, what have you got? NOT, what's next?
So, I definitely want to do another sound, and I
Mhm.
definitely want to use these characters for my next book. Um,
Okay.
my third book, I would like to add in a different classroom setting.
Mhm.
I still want it to be a classroom, but maybe it is a special education classroom or
Mhm.
a reading specialist classroom. And
Okay.
so I want it to be in a school, but it might be a different place inside the school.
Mhm.
And then I am debating, thinking, writing just notes about how I could help teachers. And so, you know, how can I help you set up your classroom? What do you really want to know about
Mm.
how to teach reading and what it really looks like in
Mm.
the classroom?
Mm.
Because there is a difference of what's on paper and what actually happens.
Sure.
And so I have notes and ideas
Mm.
about reaching out to teachers and helping them
Mm.
specifically.
Sure.
And then the homeschooling community is really increasing, especially here in the United States.
Okay.
And we have parents that want to do the right thing and teach the right way,
Mm.
but they might not know how to do
Sure.
that. Or they've got 4 kids and the first 3 did fine, and this number 4 is from somewhere else and not doing the way The
Mm.
first 3 did, and
Yes.
I feel like I could write a book to help them as
Mm.
well.
Mm. So you're obviously based in Tennessee, I'm based in the UK. With language, do you find that colloquialism and dialect and regions make a huge difference?
Oh, so much difference.
Uh,
I mean, I even have to, well, let me show you.
okay,
In my book, I specifically put how to read this book
right.
because, again, we live in the South and we like to add extra syllables to our words.
Okay.
And I do it too. I'm originally
Mm,
from Alabama.
okay.
And so my accent can be very strong. And in college, when you are going through your educational schooling, they are not teaching phonics or how to teach reading. They're
Mm,
doing more of a philosophy. Now,
okay.
that could be changing, but I have another friend that's in Mississippi, and her dialect and accent is even stronger.
Wow.
So one day she sent me a video on how she was helping a student and I was like, "Great job. That's exactly what we wanna do.
Mm,
Let me help you with some sounds." So then I recorded myself, which is also in the book. There's a
mhm.
QR code. You can go to my
Oh, nice.
website and
Mhm,
hear the correct sounds. So some of us say "puh," "cuh," "muh" for P, C, and M.
mhm.
The actual sounds are "mm."
Oh,
So when you add that vowel sound onto it, and
mm,
then you have a sweet little one,
right.
hearing "ma"
Yes.
trying
Very.
to sound out the next letter,
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
such a struggle. So
Yeah.
when I sent it to my friend, she went, "Why didn't they teach us this? Nobody has ever taught me this."
Oh,
And I said, "I know. It's more of a teaching experience and like you learn it through the years of teaching.
mm,
So a mentor teacher brought it to my attention saying, you've got some of the sounds right, but not all of them. Okay, how do I
okay.
not have all the sounds
Mm,
right?
mm,
Because I only hear what I've been around.
mm.
So I'm around Southern people, and us Southern people like to add a
Mhm,
vowel or a syllable
mm,
when it's not there.
mm.
And if your child has a learning difference, I don't like to say disability, but a
Yeah.
learning difference,
Mm,
especially dyslexia,
mm,
they cannot separate those sounds.
mm,
And so you have to be explicit and you have to be doing the sounds in
mm,
a certain way.
mm.
Now, there are words that I teach my kids pen and pin. Okay. In the South, those sound like the exact same word,
Yeah.
but we have to spell it differently. Well,
Mm,
up north, so north of Kentucky, they say pen and
right.
we say pen.
Yes.
So hand me a pen to write with, hand me a pen
Pin.
to sew with
So with.
are all the same
Yes.
in the South. But up north, it's do you have a pen I can write with?
Mm.
Do you have a pen so I can sew?
So
I mean,
yeah,
it is
stuff.
very important.
And presumably you have your local words as well. You know, when you go home to family, there are words that when you're speaking to everybody, apart from the fact that you're going to probably speak quicker than anybody not from that area is going to perhaps handle. But also you've got the words, family words and sort of native words and local words that you'll throw in that It's like here we have for a roll of bread, we have bun, bap, all sorts of different that mean exactly the same thing. They're just
Mhm.
from different areas.
Right.
Mm,
And what the scientific evidence is showing us that language is so important from when a child is born
mm,
until they're 5, so like 1 to 5.
mm,
So thinking about the language that you use at home and what you are exposing your children to and the
mm,
variety of things you're exposing them to gives them the background knowledge they need to be successful in school.
mm,
Well, in COVID, we were all wearing masks, and those children who were infants or toddlers
mm,
were not seeing our mouths
mm,
move.
mm,
And so there are children and our speech like speech pathologist or referring children to speech has
mm,
increased dramatically since COVID
right.
because those years the children did not see our
Mm,
mouth moving.
mm,
And so they are behind in their background knowledge.
mm,
And we need to work with them to get that background knowledge
mm,
and to share with parents, hey, these are some things you can do at home to help with
mm,
that.
mm,
We also need to catch that earlier.
mm.
I don't know about the UK, but in the United States, they are talking about pediatricians having a like reading or language screener to do with
Okay.
children on their
Mm,
well visits when
right.
they come in. And
Okay.
that's something we really need
Mm,
because if we can catch that the child can't stick out their tongue,
mm,
then they might be tongue tied. And
right.
you don't know that until they start talking. Maybe
Mm,
they did have problems feeding, but y'all
mm,
pushed through that and it was fine.
yeah.
Well, now they're struggling to say different words. You understand them, but people
Mm,
outside of your family do not
yeah.
understand what
Yeah.
they're saying. And now
Well,
some red flags are going off.
sure.
And so you don't want to play what is called the wait and see game. We
Mm,
have
and
been
it's
doing
too
that
late.
for too long and
Yeah.
it's too late, which is one of
Yeah.
the reasons I started my pre-readers class for
Mm,
ages 3, 4, and 5
mm,
preschool. So I could catch some of those things and help those students develop that home language or
mm,
background knowledge.
mm.
In the South, we say fixin', fixin' a
Good.
lot. I'm fixin' to go to the store.
Yes.
And
Okay.
so we
Yeah.
instead, I want the child to say, I am
Mm,
about to
mm,
go to the store.
right.
So, yes, we want them to use their home language, but
Mm,
as we progress into writing and into grade school, we
mm,
want to change that to you don't write the way you talk,
okay.
and that changes throughout elementary.
Mm. It's interesting you're saying about that wearing masks during COVID because pre that, when I lived in Northamptonshire, which is about an hour north of London, and I taught for adult learning for night, which is 19 year ages 19 upwards, and as being a teacher for the local authority, we could have credits to then go to other classes. And
Mhm.
I did the first year of a lip reading. I can't really remember it now. And it was I you just don't know until you do go to something like that. You don't realize actually how difficult it is, because I was watching some really trashy TV. I was Married at First Sight, and there was I think she was American, and she speaks like this. She literally doesn't move her mouth. And
Right.
it's so difficult to, you have to, although she doesn't move her mouth, you were looking at her mouth to almost to compensate for, you could hear
Correct.
what she was saying,
Correct.
but
Right.
it was really not strange in a bad way, but really interesting
Right.
how people move their mouths, or the way they move their mouths or don't,
Mhm.
as the case may be.
And what we're learning is your mouth has to make a certain shape to
Mm,
make a certain sound.
mm,
So I have students who make the R sound, er,
mm,
and they're not moving their lips.
mm.
And I am literally squeezing
Right.
their face,
With
trying to.
with their parents' permission, of course.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yes. Their parents, I'm showing the
Yes.
parents, like, at the end of
Yes.
the session, I'm going, "Okay,
Yeah.
say, er," and then they do it, and I said, "Okay, now say, er," and then I'm, like, squeezing, going, er, and
Mm,
trying to get their lips out, going,
mm.
"Get your lips out," like,
Yeah.
far to do
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
sound, because if you don't, you're not making the correct sound and you're not gonna get what that word is
Mm,
when you're trying to sound out red.
mm,
You're not gonna be able to do it, or it's gonna take you multiple times, like more than it should,
mm.
to
To,
blend that
right.
correctly to
Yeah.
get, "Oh, it's red."
Right. Right. Wow. So, what kind of marketing have you been doing? You've obviously got a network of teachers and parents, and does it sort of almost market itself, your book, or do you belong
Well,
to
my husband
groups
would
and?
say no.
Okay.
He's like, "Do you think you might wanna hire a publicist?" And
Hmm.
so, I've talked to other authors, and they have suggested not to hire a publicist,
Mm,
and, that you really are the one that can promote your book the
mm,
best.
mhm,
And so, I do. I work long hours and I email and do a monthly newsletter with
yep, that's
remarkable
key.
readers.
Mm,
And I have a website, and
mm,
I did self publishing as Remarkable Readers is my publisher.
mhm,
So I can control everything that is in the book or not in the book, and the
mm,
way I want it viewed for parents and teachers and students.
mm,
And I would not have known half of what I'm doing without Vicky Weber helping
right.
me.
Would you be tempted to go traditional publishing if a publisher said, "Oh, we love this idea," and especially because you've got another potential 43 books in the series? Would you be,
I
if they made you an offer you couldn't refuse to free up
Yes,
your
yes,
time? That's the
of
thing about Mark
course.
doing it yourself, isn't it? You've got to do all the work. So
Right, right.
yeah.
And my true love is teaching. So
Mm,
I don't wanna stop my sessions with
mm,
my students. I
mm,
want to keep doing that, and I don't want to stop doing that.
mm,
So if someone can come in and help me and say, "Hey, what if we do this and you could sign on and did it," then absolutely it would be
yeah,
a conversation that I
yeah,
would love to have, because I do want to get this book in as many hands as
mm,
possible,
mm.
and it's hard,
Mm. It
trying
is,
to.
absolutely. And whatever you write, you think you put it up on Amazon, and all of a sudden you're going to sell a gazillion copies. And yes,
Yeah,
it's
and
that's an eye opener. Yeah,
it
I guess
doesn't.
it's finding, because it sounds like you have a really good working collaboration already, that finding somebody else perhaps Scott, who was on before you, was talking
Mhm.
about a collaboration. He's set up a group where he's got authors and marketeers and publishers, and they're all volunteers. It said it's voluntary at the moment, and so it's very slow. Has been very slow, but
Right.
it's, I suppose, networking. You find these people if you were able to do that, where somebody, you could help in one direction and other people could help in another direction, and
Right. And finding Facebook groups and
mm,
finding other authors and meeting with them. And then
mm,
I haven't even thought about conferences. I
mm,
need to go to conferences. I need to be a vendor at teacher conferences and book
mm,
conferences and
mm.
author conferences, you know, and
They are
then
fabulous. Conferences and
and
literary
how much
festivals are
does that cost? And can I really do that? You know,
mm,
and I need Facebook ads and I need Instagram ads and I need Google ads and
mm. Well,
which
I
ones
just,
do you
yeah.
trust and
I
who
I
do
do
you
Amazon. Yeah, I do Amazon ads, and I'm the idea of Facebook ads and so on and so forth are a little way down the, I think, get the handle of Amazon ads to start with. And I belong to a brilliant group called, it's Brian Cohen, his author ad school, and they're forever showing, there's a Facebook group and a Teachable as this is, and they're every, probably about 30, 40 times a day, somebody's saying they're putting up their graph and I don't understand why I'm losing money or why I've got 10 clicks on this, and
right,
but one of my books sold because it you can have a look at the data, and I sold one of my novels to somebody who was looking for a tractor instruction manual. So how would I ever guess that to put tractor instruction manual as a, I'd lose so much money because I don't sell anything that's like a tractor instruction manual, but somebody happened to see it, because that's what they were looking for, and obviously got
right.
distracted somewhere along the line. And it is a minefield. It really is trying to
Yeah.
find your little voice in a very big pond.
Yes.
Not the right
And
analogy, but
I mean, just
mm,
like you and I able to connect the
mm,
way we did, I would have
mm,
never thought I could be speaking to someone in the UK about
mm,
my book and
mm,
someone from Australia, has messaged me. So
mm.
there are so many benefits from the social media
Yes.
aspect and the
Yeah.
internet and Amazon,
Yeah.
and it does widen your reach
Mm,
to people.
mm,
But I did, and I do have a good following before I wrote the book. And I have heard that that is very helpful. So, I mean, I
mm.
have less than 1,000, but around 800 emails on
Okay.
my newsletter.
Mm,
And so I've got you send that newsletter, but maybe only half open it or
mm,
less than half open it.
mm,
And then, I do have a Facebook group for parents,
mhm,
Remarkable Readers Parent Community,
mm,
and it has about 900 members in it.
mm,
And I was able to create a launch team from those people,
mm,
and I got like 120 people who said, "Yes, I want to receive a digital copy and write a review for you." And
brilliant.
so I've got 67
Mm,
reviews, which is great.
it
Of
is.
course, I want 123 because that's how many people.
Yes. Well, apparently I'm not sure whether this is true or not, because some people say yes, some people say no. But once you hit the 50 Amazon reviews, that then the algorithms start to take notice that actually your book is becoming popular, and then it helps promote it that way.
Yeah.
But
And
it's
that's
hard
another
work.
thing, just learning that. I
Mm,
mean, SEO. I'm not sure I could have told you what that was
mm,
last year.
right.
And now I'm all about it. I'm like, "Okay, what is my SEO?"
It is a learning it's all a learning curve, isn't it? I say to my
Very much.
students that writing is the easy part. You know, you
Mhm.
think writing's difficult, you wait until you've got the book done and out there, and then the rest of it is big, big learning. But author ad school, all the gurus say really that the newsletter is key, because if the social media's stopped tomorrow, you've still got your email addresses and your people from
Right.
your newsletters, and
And
they are what we call your super fans. You know,
correct.
they've gone out of their way to subscribe to your newsletter, and they want to know what you're doing. And
Mhm.
you can plug as much as you to a point. You can
Yes.
plug as much as you like to.
Right.
Mm,
And I
brilliant.
want to involve my super fans as
Mm,
much as possible.
mm,
And so I want to offer them everything.
mm.
However, you can't offer everything for free and
No.
make a living either.
Yeah.
So you've got to find
Yeah.
that balance
Yeah.
of, you know, what is reasonable, what actually works
Mm,
in this market.
mm.
Am I being, over the top, or am I underselling? And,
That is very
what is
easy to
my
do.
pricing? Yeah.
Yeah, that's very easy to do. We do think we're not worth as much as we are sometimes.
And coming from education,
Mm,
that is a heartbreaking story from
mm,
teachers,
mm,
because that's exactly the way they feel.
mm,
And they're not, and we all know they're not.
mm,
And some people are trying to make that change, but it's happening at such a slow process. You've got more
mm,
people leaving the profession than either staying or joining the
mm.
profession,
Well,
because
I
they
was
didn't
really
make it.
lucky. Sorry. I was really lucky because I was adult learning, so I chose my own curriculum. As long as I could prove that, and they were learners rather than students because they were learning rather than studying. And so I could choose my own curriculum and how often I taught and what I taught up to a point, as long as I could prove that they would learn something from it. And I had the reports to write after each session. So I was very lucky. But I had a teacher friend who was she'd gone through so much. In fact, two had gone through so much to become teachers. One never actually did. She couldn't get a job. She'd have to go to London. She lived on the south coast. Would have at the time would have to go to London. She couldn't get a job locally. It's different now, obviously, but couldn't get a job, and she ended up working in a tie shop, tie and scarf shop. And the other one taught for about 5 years, adored it, but it was just too much. It was literally constant.
Right,
When she wasn't at
right,
school, she was preparing and
right.
marking and a constant, and it just became too much. She was
Yeah,
married and she had no life.
no.
It was just too much.
It
Yeah.
is. It is a lot.
Yeah.
We ask a lot of teachers,
Mm,
and then they don't receive the pay. But
mm,
what makes them so wonderful is they have that teacher heart, and they have the passion to
mm,
help children.
mm,
And you can look past the money and, some of the hardships
mm,
for a time period, and then some people, last 1 or 2 years, and some people do it 25 years.
mm.
It just depends on what your threshold is,
Yes.
you know.
Well, it has to be a vocation, doesn't it? It's a bit like writing. You know, it's really tough, and if you want to do it, you just do it.
Right.
So,
And you just
yeah.
keep going,
Mm,
and you take it day by day and step by step,
mm,
and you show up again.
yeah.
And that's what teachers do. They
Mm,
definitely are loyal, to the point that if it starts to affect them physically or mentally,
mm,
now I think they are standing up for themselves
yeah.
or making a decision in setting boundaries.
Mm,
And I do think that as a society, we're getting better about that.
mm,
I needs some more lessons in setting boundaries, but I think that as a whole, we at least know I've got to stop. I've got
Mm,
to be still. I've got to say no to
yeah,
this. I can't go and do this.
yeah.
And so, and
Well, I
it's
think in
okay.
anything in life, when it gets to the point where you've got nothing to lose, then, make or break, isn't it? And
Right.
on that cheery note, I'd like to say thank you for joining me, Maggie, today. It's been a pleasure,
Absolutely.
and we'll be back, and hopefully with a book too, and
Yes.
we'll talk more about your books in at a later date. Thank you
Okay.
so much for joining me today.
You are welcome. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.